The local government news roundup is supported this month by the National Growth Areas Alliance Emerging Growth Areas Forum. Australia is working towards 1.2 million new homes over 5 years, and growth councils are on the front line of delivering them. It's not just about land release and planning approvals, it's about getting the roads, drainage, schools, libraries and community infrastructure right from day one. And that's the focus of the 2026 Emerging Growth Areas Forum, hosted by the National Growth Areas Alliance on Tuesday the 4th of August at Hume City Council Town Hall in Broadmeadows. It's running alongside the NGAA National Congress. For the first time, council leaders from emerging and established growth areas will come together to share what's worked and what hasn't in managing rapid growth, covering organisational readiness, working with developers, building community trust, and making the case for state and federal investment. If your council is facing rapid population growth, this is a forum built for you. Registration is open now to all local governments. Head to the NGAA website, ngaa.org.au, to secure your place. Hepburn's governance crisis. The council insists its budget is compliant. A $600,000 payroll error at Stonnington. The end of e-bikes for Yarra. The sector calls for new disaster recovery funding arrangements to be scrapped. A New South Wales Council CEO gets a new contract. A tense meeting in Cairns as the Mayor makes a second admission of wrongdoing. A councillor resignation in Townsville. And for the second consecutive episode, new CEOs appointed in South Australia and Western Australia. Hello, I'm Chris Eddy. Also today, I speak with Bronwen Clark, the CEO of the National Growth Areas Alliance, about why the time is right for an Emerging Growth Areas Forum. The Local Government News Roundup is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple connected customer experiences, and from Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. Hello and welcome along to episode number 617. It's Friday, the 17th of July, and we have the latest from Hepburn for you as we wait anything significant from the government. The council has confirmed that its adopted 26-27 budget complies with legislative requirements, backed by independent legal advice, following compliance concerns raised during its adoption. The council said it will continue to manage its finances responsibly and actively seek ways to improve its budget development and community consultation processes. The clarification comes after a private prosecution was levelled against Hepburn councillors concerning the budget adoption processes, bringing the total number of councillors stood down to 5, depriving the council of a quorum. Tim Driley, one of the 2 remaining serving councillors at Hepburn, has released a column this week arguing that the state's automatic stand-down laws lack crucial safeguards against private legal actions and urgently require legislative reform to protect local democracy. That echoes similar calls made by Councillor Rob Amos, Chair of Advocacy Alliance Rural Councils Victoria, and by local government legal expert Tony Roundup. You'll hear from both of them in this week's new edition of VLGA Connect, coming out later today on YouTube and podcast. In other news, the City of Stonnington has self-reported a major payroll error to the Fair Work Ombudsman after an internal review uncovered underpayments dating back to April 2019. Chief Executive Officer Dale Dixon confirmed the issue was caused by a system glitch affecting overtime and penalty rate calculations. The council expects to pay out approximately $600,000, including interest, to rectify the error. All affected current and former employees are being contacted directly with personal advice, and former staff can contact the council via email with queries. The City of Yarra has voted to end its 6-year share e-bike trial with Lime. The Guardian reported that the council declined to award a permanent contract, stating the operator failed to meet basic standards and accusing it of not doing enough to prevent the blocking of footpaths, e-bike dumping or users riding while drunk. Lime has 30 days to remove its fleet. The City of Hume has flagged potential land use conflicts over a proposal for an 8-storey, 160-key hotel at Melbourne Airport. Council planners have said they're unwilling to support the proposal over concerns that a residential hotel is inappropriate for the light industrial zone. The developer, SMA Projects, has bypassed council by lodging the application directly with the Victorian Department of Transport and Planning. More on that from the urban developer. Bass Coast Shire Council's Community Arts and Cultural Hub, Bernanite, has officially achieved Passive House certification. Located in Cairns, it's the first public centre in Australia to incorporate a theatre, library, gallery and museum under one Passive House certified building. The milestone makes the facility only the second of its kind globally, hitting an air tightness result of 0.6 air changes per hour within its approved budget. Horsham Rural City Council has declined an invitation to join WIM Resources Community and Coexistence Reference Group for the Avonbank mine. Mayor Brian Klaus says the move is premature, given the project has not yet secured a mining licence. Rural Councils Victoria has welcomed the state opposition's pledge to spend $5 billion on road repairs and maintenance if elected, though it's unclear how much of that would flow to country roads specifically. The commitment falls short of RCV's call for an extra $2 billion over 4 years for regional roads. Deputy Chair, Councillor Kate Macon, says the plan is, quote, on the right track, but the organisation wants more detail on the regional metropolitan funding split. And Brimbank City Council has partnered with Vic Health to launch Everyone at the Table, a new initiative tackling food insecurity in the municipality. The program builds a coalition with organisations like IPC Health and the University of Melbourne to improve local food systems. Recent data indicates that 12.5% of local adults have experienced food insecurity, compared to the state average of 8%. Australia's local governments are calling on the federal government to abandon proposed changes to the disaster recovery funding arrangements. A motion passed at the ALGA National General Assembly rejected a planned shift to a strict 50-50 Commonwealth state funding split. The association is warning that the model would create a severe funding gap, reducing the federal contribution in states like New South Wales and leaving resource-constrained councils exposed to higher costs after natural disasters. ALGA President Mayor Matt Burnett said councils across Australia needed certainty that the reforms to disaster recovery funding would strengthen rather than weaken their ability to help communities recover. Bega Valley Shire Council in New South Wales has reappointed its Chief Executive Officer Anthony McMahon following a decision at Wednesday night's council meeting. Mayor Russell Fitzpatrick says the reappointment provides stability for the organisation as it continues delivering services and long-term planning across the Shire. Mr McMahon, an experienced local government leader with more than 15 years in senior roles, was first appointed on a 5-year contract in early 2022. Glen Innes Severn Council has transitioned to a new enterprise management system, Civica Altitude, following 3 consecutive disclaimed financial audits. The council abandoned its previous software after it failed to meet operational expectations, leading to ongoing scrutiny from the Office of Local Government. The council's general manager, Bernard Smith, says the new cloud-based platform is expected to restore financial sustainability and improve reporting. Shellharbour City Council has launched a new online payment platform designed to give ratepayers greater flexibility over their schedules. The payroll system has been introduced alongside the 2026-27 rates notice rollout, allowing residents to customise their payment frequency and select preferred payment days via bank account or card. Mayor Chris Homer said the move is about improving customer experience and easing household budget pressures. Melbourne's Monash Council has also announced a move to the payable direct debit system this week, with existing direct debit clients advised to sign up for the new system. The City of Canterbury Bankstown has announced the rollout of 12 new off-street electric vehicle charging stations funded by the New South Wales Government's Western Sydney Infrastructure Grant Program. The new installations will bring 36 new public charging ports online by the end of July. Mayor Bilal El Hayek says the expansion will support apartment residents who lack home charging access and help accommodate the growing number of EVs travelling through the region. Georges River Council has announced new partnerships with 4 major Sydney universities to drive local employment, skill building and environmental research. Collaborating with the University of New South Wales, UTS, Macquarie University and Western Sydney University, The initiative has already delivered youth AI workshops and a new nighttime economy strategy. Northern Beaches Council is rolling out Welcome Here rainbow stickers across its key community venues. The initiative, partnering with health organisation ACON, aims to visibly signal inclusion and support for the LGBTQ+ community at customer service centres, libraries and aquatic facilities. And the Country Mayors Association has welcomed the extension of the New South Wales Fresh Start program. The expansion will fund 400 new apprentice, trainee and cadet roles next year to help address critical regional workforce shortages. Chairman of the CMA, Mayor Rick Furman, OAM of Temora Shire, said the game-changing program has been a positive boost to help address workforce shortages. We're going round the nation for the latest local government news. Off to Queensland in a moment, but first a word from our sponsors. The VLGA, of course, have been with us from day one, and I work with the VLGA to present a weekly episode of VLGA Connect, and it's, what do the kids say, a banger this week. We've got Tony Roundup from Hunt & Hunt Lawyers digging deep into the Hepburn Shire governance situation. We'll also hear from Rob Amos, the chair of RCV, about what he thinks needs to happen. And we're going to talk to Kristen Desmond, who's the CEO of West Tamar Council in Tasmania, about how they've used AI to produce their new strategic plan, the first council in Tasmania to do so. That's all coming up on VLGA Connect. Look for it later today on YouTube or on podcast. More news for you now, and in Queensland, Cairns Mayor Amy Eden has made a second public admission of wrongdoing in 3 weeks following a ruling by Queensland's Councillor Conduct Tribunal. The tribunal found Councillor Eden failed to declare a conflict of interest during a 2023 vote involving a former business partner. In a tense council meeting, councillors voted unanimously for the mayor to repay $15,000 in legal excess fees, while Deputy Mayor Brett Auld stated the community deserves an apology. ABC News reported that Miss Eden made a statement after the meeting, saying she accepted the adjudicator's decision, but did not support the, quote, unnecessary political pontificating by councillors. There's changes ahead in Townsville, with City Councillor Paul Jacob having resigned this week from his Division 1 role, bringing his lengthy career in North Queensland local government to a close. Announcing his departure on Wednesday, the former Deputy Mayor cited a desire to spend more time with his family following a turbulent period for the council. The Townsville Bulletin reported that his resignation will trigger a by-election within the next 2 months. 4 Queensland councils will share more than $7.6 million to restore beaches and coastal areas damaged by the 2025 North and Far North tropical low. Jointly funded by federal and state governments, the funding will support 12 projects from Cardwell to Cape York in the Cassowary Coast, Cairns, Northern Peninsula area and Townsville local government areas. The funding aims to rebuild walls, replant vegetation and protect vital regional infrastructure from future severe weather events. In South Australia, Mid-Murray Council has named Dr Andrew Johnson as its next Chief Executive Officer, succeeding Ben Scales, who left to lead Food Bank South Australia and the Northern Territory. Dr Johnson, a former Chief Executive at the town of Walkerville and Port Pirie councils, starts on the 10th of August. Mayor Simone Bailey said his financial background and advocacy experience gave council confidence he was the right person to lead the organisation forward. It's the second Murraylands Council Chief Executive appointment in a week after Coorong Council's appointment of Scott Reardon. In WA, Perth now reports that the town of Victoria Park Council has voted 5-4 to reduce its advertised rate hike from 5% down to 3.5%. The last-minute amendment, passed during a tense 5-hour special meeting, requires the administration to find a 1% efficiency saving in operational expenditure. While Mayor Karen Vernon cited ratepayer cost of living pressures, opponents warned the reduction undercuts inflation and creates an unsustainable capital works program. The Shire of Plantagenet in WA's Great Southern region has appointed Gary Bird as its new Chief Executive Officer, commencing the 31st of August. Mr Bird brings more than 25 years' experience across WA local government, including a stint as Director Corporate Services at the Shire of Mundaring. Notably, Plantagenet is where he began his local government career. The City of Stirling has rejected a proposal to ban e-ridables from two of its busiest parks, voting 12-1 to upgrade path safety instead. The decision means e-scooters can continue operating, supported by new speed signs, stencils and community education initiatives. More on that from Perth now. The city's Mayor Mark Irwin, who is also president of Walga, has been forced to apologise to a ratepayer. The council's Register of Minor Breach findings reveals that Mayor Irwin was found to have made improper use of his office by preventing a man from asking questions at an electors' general meeting in 2025 and treating the man in a disrespectful manner. Mayor Irwin made a public apology at the council's 7th of July meeting. It's the second apology he's been required to make this year. And from the NT, the City of Darwin has commenced a 6-month trial of an on-demand Auslan interpreting service across 12 municipal facilities. Delivered in partnership with Convo Access, the technology allows deaf and hard-of-hearing residents to scan QR codes to instantly connect with qualified interpreters. The initiative runs until December to determine its long-term viability. Still to come today on the Roundup, Bronwen Clark, the CEO of the National Growth Areas Alliance, joins me shortly to talk about that upcoming Emerging Growth Areas Forum, which is happening in August in the city of Hume. But let's round up some overseas news, and there's a lot to tell you about out of the UK. I'll try and wrap this up into a brief report. The UK government has appointed Sir Stephen Horton as a political envoy this week to support Nottingham City Council's improvement program. The appointment follows statutory interventions initiated earlier this year, including the appointment of a ministerial envoy. The new additional envoy is set to provide oversight for up to 75 days to help drive culture change and governance improvements. Meanwhile, the Minister has announced the establishment of a single commissioner team to jointly manage interventions at Woking and Spelthorne councils. Leslie Seary will lead the new team to integrate risk management across both authorities, while Woking's former Commissioner Richard Carr transitions to interim Chief Executive to guide its structural improvement. And best value notices have been issued this week to a number of councils, including Newham, Cheshire East, Basildon Borough and Shropshire councils. The notices are formal advice of concerns regarding the councils, requesting engagement with the department to provide assurance of improvement. In other UK news, an independent audit has revealed the North East Mayoral Authority's bus franchising program will cost an additional £105 million over 30 years due to a staffing model omission. Despite the error, the auditors concluded the plan remains affordable, and the regional authority maintains the scheme is still financially viable. More on that from BBC News. The Mayor of Bedford has raised concerns that a proposed tourism tax for the planned Universal theme park may not benefit his local borough. Speaking to the BBC, Tom Wooten warned that regional metro mayors, not local councils, would likely control the revenue, sidelining the immediate community hosting the development. The theme park is due to open in 2031 and is tipped to become the UK's biggest tourist attraction. Reform UK has brought a motion of no confidence against Worcestershire County Council leader Matt Jenkins, protesting the party's exclusion from the ruling coalition, despite being the local authority's largest group. The leader of West Northamptonshire Council, Mark Arnall, has announced that the local authority will withdraw all future officer support and funding from the town's Pride events, claiming they've become too politicised. Wakefield Council is set to abandon its 2030 carbon neutral target and cut its climate budget by £170,000 following a Reform UK local election victory. Kirklees Council has elected Reform UK group leader Sarah Wood as its new leader, finally ending months of political deadlock and 2 previous failed votes. And Bristol City Council has failed to factor nearly £4 million of printing and postage costs into its Clean Air Zone contract. A report to the Strategy and Resources Committee reveals the expenses linked to driver fines were missed in the initial agreement with Xerox. The unbudgeted costs are reportedly covered by penalty income and will not impact general council finances. That's all just from the last couple of days in the UK, and there's more coming out of that country. We'll have some more for you on our next edition. A big story in New York City in the US. The council there is considering a bill to phase out the city's horse-drawn carriage industry by June 2028. The proposed legislation follows the first recorded human fatality in the industry's history, where an 18-year-old tourist was killed last month. The New York Daily News reported on a marathon hearing of the council's health committee, with 26 of the 51 council members now co-sponsoring the ban. A committee vote on the bill is expected next month. In Canada, here's something you don't hear about every day. Windsor City Council's mayor is taking a pay cut so that the councillors can receive more money. CBC News reported the proposal introduced by the Mayor Drew Dilkins will see the mayor's annual salary permanently reduced by $50,000. The funding will be redistributed to increase the annual pay of each of the city's 10 councillors by $5,000. Hamilton City Council in Ontario has rejected a proposed one-year pause on new artificial intelligence data centres. CTV News reporting the 10-6 vote followed a lengthy closed-door session where legal counsel advised that a key university-led project would be exempt. And in New Zealand, Selwyn District councillors have criticised the government's 3-month deadline for council reorganisation, calling the truncated time frame ridiculous and chaotic. According to Radio New Zealand, the council has decided to narrow its amalgamation options down to 3, becoming a standalone unitary authority, merging with Ashburton, or joining a Greater Christchurch amalgamation. Those options will be put to residents for consultation. And Kaipara District councillors voted unanimously against supporting a proposed local government reform for the Northland region. The recommendation from the Northland elected members' steering group suggested a staged transition model which would create 2 unitary authorities before merging into a single Northland-wide council. Mayor Jonathan Larson said there's insufficient evidence of project delivery benefits or economies of scale to justify a merger. The council has requested that Kaipara be excluded from any future reform proposals submitted to the government. And that's our news roundup for this Friday, the 17th of July, but stay with us, it's time for Roundup Extra. Australia's outer suburbs are absorbing population growth at roughly double the national average. And those local governments are being asked to deliver housing at pace while building the infrastructure to support it. And next month, the National Growth Areas Alliance will bring together councils from across the country for its first ever Emerging Growth Areas Forum. And I'm joined by the NGAA's CEO, Bronwen to talk about what good growth looks like and what's at stake if councils get it wrong. Bronwen, welcome to the Local Government News Roundup.
Thanks, Chris. Thanks for having me.
Lovely to have you here, and thanks so much for your support of the podcast as well.
My pleasure. It's a great resource for local government.
Excellent, thank you. The forum that you're running next month on the 4th of August comes as councils are under pressure from the National Housing Accord target of 1.2 million homes. And there's this new $2 billion local infrastructure as well, the fund that's putting focus on the issue. From your perspective, what's actually changed for growth councils in the past 12 months or so?
Well, the irony is, Chris, that for growth area councils, probably not too much has changed because our members have been growing at this exponential rate for decades and have amassed an enormous amount of knowledge and experience of how to manage that growth. But what I think has happened for a lot of smaller councils, or perhaps even some inner middle ring suburb councils and regional cities and inner regional councils, is that suddenly they have very high residential growth targets. And it has been sort of creeping up, and now we have a shorter deadline to reach the $1.2 million housing accord target, 1.2 million housing accord target. And we just would love to use this moment in time to share the experience that our members have amassed.
So you've said that pressure has never been greater. Is it landing evenly across growth councils, or are some being asked to move faster than others?
Look, it's definitely every council has a target, and this is quite a new experience. So I think it's a slower process for them, but they're still under the same targets and goals. We all have different numbers that we need to reach. And for experienced growth councils, it's a business as usual situation. But we are hearing quite regularly from councils outside our outer metropolitan areas that they're really challenged by the targets that have been set. This is a new experience for them. and they're seeking guidance. So we thought, let's bring our people together to share their learnings.
So, hence, we have this first Emerging Growth Areas Forum, which is running alongside the National Congress. Why have you deliberately delineated the two events this way?
So our National Congress is an annual event. It's a thought leadership event, for want of a better term, that really brings together national leaders in a specific topic that's particular to growth areas. So this year we're looking at industrial lands and data centres and how we make the most of our competitive advantage in outer metropolitan growth areas. Everyone is welcome to that because there'll be something in it for everyone, but we are specifically talking about growth areas. The forum, which we're running the day before our Congress, is our own people, so our own mayors, councillors, CEOs and senior officers sharing their knowledge with their local government peers. We have really brought together some national experts in their field that have great experience in delivering growth and managing growth, and we want to pass that knowledge on.
I chuckled a bit when you mentioned data centres. There's not an episode of the podcast that goes by without a data centre story and the impact that that's having and the concerns about it, taking up land that could be used for housing. I imagine growth area councils are seeing that happening in various locations.
Absolutely,
Yeah.
because they're the perfect target with their location and their land availability. And so we're, trying to encourage, we're doing some research, we're having conversations about if we can't turn back the tide, how do we make the most of the situation?
Yeah. Well, one of the things you've flagged for this is infrastructure sequencing. Can you unpack what that really means in practice?
So this is, the infrastructure that councils have ownership of and can plan and with partnerships deliver. So we'll be looking at things like how to plan and deliver maternal and child health services, as an example, sports and recreation fields, how council can advocate for library locations. So there are a whole set of tools that our members use around looking at not just demographic data, but some are using AI, hence we need data centres, but some are using AI to map out where populations will grow, what they're expected their household makeup to be, and what services will be needed. And that just allows council working, within developer contribution models and within funding and grant applications and within their own financial management to plan not just as people are arriving, but how to actually have a great setup and a great neighbourhood and a great location for people as they're moving in.
Yeah, and taking that long-term view as well. I've heard that you say the consequences of getting growth wrong will last for generations. Just talk a bit about those long-term costs when the infrastructure doesn't keep pace with the housing.
Absolutely. And, a lot of this comes down to advocacy as well as what council is responsible for delivering. So it could just be traffic management. It could just be putting the extra turning lane at the roundabout early. It could be working with developers to turn their sales office into a community centre at a very short turnaround. Because otherwise we see, as suburban expansion happens, we can see a patchwork of development. And quite often you'll have whole communities completely isolated and stranded.
Yeah.
And there are lots of lessons learned and experiences of whether it's traffic management or working with developers for early delivery of bus services, for example, or early delivery of playgroup centres or maternal and child health centres. These are things that there is great experience and great case studies to share about how it's been done well, and also how some councils have really learnt from perhaps missing something in those early stages. And we want to make sure we can help people and in other councils not make those same errors.
Have you got an example of a lesson that a growth council has learned the hard way that might help an emerging growth area to avoid the same pitfalls?
So there is one, I probably won't name the council,
Yeah, that's
but
fine. Yeah.
but the one that comes to mind is a slip lane at a roundabout that council was responsible for at the exit to a new housing estate. So very quickly, there was a 45-minute wait to get
Wow.
out of the new suburb.
Mm.
And it took then quite a long time to redesign that intersection to find additional funding to put the slip lane in. And when it eventually was done a couple of years later, the community outrage subsided, the
Yeah.
news story stopped,
Yeah. Yeah.
and the traffic was much more manageable. So that's a small example of thinking not just for that immediate need, but what the need is going to be when that development is fully developed and
Yeah.
there are 1,000 houses there rather than the 100 that started out in the development.
I can actually think of a few areas where that scenario you've
Yeah,
just
yeah,
described
yeah,
might
exactly.
apply. Being able to avoid those would be a good thing
Mm.
in the long run. Perhaps one final thing, you talk about the push and pull of advocacy, and that's going to be a session at your forum. Where is your focus right now with other levels of government on that advocacy front?
Our main goal at the moment is working on, it's going to sound a bit dull actually, Chris, but it's working on a formal classification for greenfield growth zones. So we know that, especially at the federal level, and our role is predominantly advocacy to the federal government, that entire metropolitan regions are counted as one. And so within Greater Melbourne, for example, or Greater Sydney, there is incredible diversity of experience, especially around population growth and residential growth and infrastructure needs. However, federal government plans and delivers across all portfolios as one measurement of Greater Melbourne or Greater Sydney or Adelaide, Perth, Brisbane. So we have found a methodology that can be replicable across all parts of Australia because inner
Okay.
regional areas are experiencing this as well as regional cities.
Mm.
And it can show very clearly on a map where the growth is happening. And so where growth is, there's a need for infrastructure, there's a need for enhanced service delivery and enhanced programming. So at the moment, there's no way to measure that and show that and report on it, but we're pushing very hard for this classification through ABS and the Centre for Population in Treasury,
Good.
that can then be a legitimate classification that federal departments use to show where they need to plan additional investment.
Well, it sounds very sensible. You say dull, but I say practical, and all the best with your efforts there. Are you expecting to have MPs or departmental decision makers at this forum?
No, this first one, it's our test run. So we're looking at it very much as peer-to-peer learning. Elected members and officers are welcome. There will be sessions that cover both. And what we found within the way we work at the National Growth Areas Alliance is we have everyone in the same room. These are not decision-making sessions. These are
Yes.
information sessions, education, and we want people to feel free to come and ask any question they have and hopefully leave us with a whole set of unanswered questions that we
Right.
can then
Yeah.
continue the conversation.
So elected members, senior officers, but also practitioner level people from
Absolutely,
councils
yes,
as
yeah,
well. All
yeah,
welcome. Okay.
all welcome.
So those practical logistical steps now. How do people find out more and get involved?
Yes, they can go to ngaa.org.au and we will have information on our homepage there about the forum. And yeah, any council in Australia is welcome because we know it's not just suburban, it's regional, it's inner city councils as well experiencing growth, and we'd love to help get it right.
Any limitation on spaces? Do people need to get in quick to ensure
They
they?
do need to
Yeah,
get in
yeah.
quick. It's being held at Broadmeadows Town Hall and Hume City Council, our
Yeah.
host, and we would love to keep it a relatively small group, maybe 80 to 100 people,
Hmm.
because the best thing that can come out of it is new connections and networks.
Yeah.
So
Mm.
we want people to be able to talk and connect in the room, not to have a great big hall where you don't meet anyone, but this is a networking and connection exercise as much as a knowledge sharing.
Excellent. All right. So the 4th of August in Hume at Broadmeadows. Bronwen, you've given the address there. Good luck with the event. Thanks for your support for the podcast. And I hope to hear about great things coming from this first ever forum.
Great. Thanks, Chris. Keep up the good work.
Thank you. That's Bronwen Clark, CEO of the National Growth Areas Alliance. And that's the latest from the local government news roundup. This edition, number 617, recorded for Friday, the 17th of July, 2026. If you have comments or feedback, you can email us, chris@lgnewsroundup.com. Head to lgnewsroundup.com for more information about this episode, including story links, and for breaking news updates between episodes of the podcast, which is brought to you by the Victorian Local Governance Association, the national broadcaster on all things local government, with support from Symphony 3, simple, connected customer experiences, and from Rath Engineering Development, smarter local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience. The Local Government News Roundup is recorded in the city of Greater Geelong, Victoria, on the land of the Wadawurrung people of the Kulin Nation. Until next time, thanks for listening, and bye for now. Support for the Local Government News Roundup comes from Rath Engineering Development, smarter systems for local government, like Red GMS, helping councils manage gravel pits and projects, track quality, test results, blending options and haulage, and know the true cost per tonne from day one. Rath Engineering Development can give you a one-off report that uses your existing pit data to pinpoint the best gravel sources for your next resheeting program or disaster restoration works, saving your council time and money. For local government systems built from real on-the-ground experience, talk to the team at Rath Engineering Development. Head to rathed.com.au to find out more.